Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. In this stream, we're gonna try to see if we can build the beginnings of a UI library for Ruby on Rails using the ViewComponents gem. The ViewComponents gem is a way to create reusable UI components in Rails, and I believe it was created by GitHub. I know GitHub uses it a lot, and basically, it's faster than rendering a Rails partial. You can unit test it because it's just Ruby code. And you have a very clear interface for your components within Rails. And we're also going to use Alpine.js for any of the JavaScript functionality that we need to try to build kind of a lightweight Rails version of a UI component library. This is something that I need in my day-to-day, along with a React version, but we still have a lot of code that's only in Rails and doesn't use React yet. And I think this would be a really cool way to build out that library. So I want to see if this combination of the ViewComponents gem, Alpine.js, and Tailwind CSS, if that is the combination to allow me to pull this off with a kind of testable solution. So with that, the first thing we're going to need to do is create a new Rails project, and we're going to need to configure RSpec and Capybara, just because that's my preferred testing framework. So I'm not going to spend the time trying to use built-in mini-test. So we'll need to do that because I do want to get test around these components, because that is one of the benefits, is being able to test these things. Another one is baking accessibility right into the components, and that's a really crucial one. If you've built any kind of application that is used by businesses that are required to comply with accessibility standards and regulation, then and also just you want your app to be used by anyone and everyone, right? So accessibility matters. It's one of those things you should care about if you're building software for the web. So that's another benefit, is that we're going to be able to build accessibility right into our different components. And so that's really cool. So if we need to update that, or maybe there's something that we missed, or there's a component that needs an accessibility update, we can update it in one place. Every instance will get it because they are all instances of that same component class. So that's one of the benefits of using view components versus just partials and local variables. Yeah, so we'll see how far we get in here. We're not going to build the entire library. Obviously, that's madness. Like, there's probably 25, 30 components we want to build. We're just going to build a couple. We're going to start really simple with a button, right? And kind of see if we can't flesh out a kind of standard interface that we're going to use for some of these components. And I've never used the ViewComponents gem before. I've used Alpine.js, but it was a long time ago, so that'll be kind of new for me. But it seems really intuitive, and we're going to use it for some really basic things. And who knows? Maybe we'll get into some advanced concepts with Alpine.js as well. We'll see how it goes. And then I've used Tailwind for a while. I would love to try to get to Tailwind 4. I think the Rails generator is still going to install with Tailwind. I think it installs Tailwind 4, but it still configures it as 3. So maybe in another video or stream, we'll look at like what's that migration look like to migrate our config from using that JavaScript config. Because I don't think, hopefully we'll get an update for that in Rails, right? I think we're at 8.0.1. Maybe in 0.2 or 0.3, we'll get an update for that for Tailwind 4 to get that all CSS based configuration without needing any JavaScript for Tailwind, which is nice. All right, so with that, let's jump in. We'll create our new project, and we'll start there. So let's go ahead and create a new Rails project. We're going to say Rails new. We're going to call it Fluid UI Library. We're going to use Postgres for our database, ES build, Tailwind. We're going to skip test because, again, we're going to install RSpec and Capybara, preferred testing framework. And we're going to skip solid. This is more of a personal preference for me. I think solid is amazing. I think it's a really good step in the right direction for Rails as a framework. I wouldn't build anything production level on it just yet. I think it's too early, right? Let 37 signals, stress test it, and dog food it, and I think that's awesome. Like they're putting it to test, and they're gonna find any issues in it and improvements it can make to the API and whatnot, and they're gonna make those. And so I'll definitely circle back to it once it's a little bit more mature. But right now, I tend to just skip it in my Rails projects because if I need something, I'm gonna install Redis and Sidekick for background jobs. That's just I've used those in production for over a decade, and there's no reason to not use them. They're tried and true for most cases. You're going to hit some edge cases when you get to a certain scale, and you know that's a problem you can worry about whenever you're to that scale. But anyways, so we'll go ahead and create it with this. Let me think. Do we need anything else here? I don't think so. I think that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new project. I'll go ahead and install everything that we need there. Yeah, we're gonna get all the turbo stuff. I don't know if we're gonna use any of it at all. We'll see. I mean, we could use it. I'm not a huge fan of the kind of separation of stimulus controllers within Hotwire and Rails views, and like there's a very strong dependency on the DOM there, and I think if you're like pure Rails, you're not using any JavaScript frameworks, you don't have React in your application at all, and you just want to be pure Rails with some RJS or some JavaScript sprinkled in, then I think Hotwire is probably great. Like it's probably great. If you're doing any kind of complex state management, or you have multiple controllers that are dependent on one another, different actions that are taken that then trigger other controllers or other events, the stimulus kind of breaks down. I've hit some edges with it, as have other Rails devs and Rails core team members and contributors, and it's I think it's good for a lot of things. I do. Don't get me wrong. I think it is good for a lot of things, and I think it's really intuitive and straightforward for a server-side rendered MVC framework, which is what Rails is, tried and true. And you can do some JavaScript stuff. You can do Ajax. You can bring React or Vue or Svelte in or whatever, and like those all work just fine, right? And there are patterns for those. But I think some of the complexities there with Hotwire and how it's like the conventions where everything's so tied to the DOM and data attributes and the, not only that, but the hierarchy of like where the controller is defined and where actions are defined, and they have to be nested within the parent div that is designated as having the controller for it. Otherwise the action is bound there, but there's no controller to it. And so like the fact that your view hierarchy, like your DOM hierarchy, it's dependent on your DOM hierarchy is a little strange to me. And then like, are we going to see everyone just put controllers at the highest level so that they're accessible everywhere? Is there a scoping reason? Like what is I don't know. So we're probably not going to get into that. So let's go ahead and CD into our directory, and let's go ahead and open up our project in NeoVim. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my gem file, and we're going to clean this up a little bit. All right, so I like to keep Rails above all of the other gems since it is the framework itself. And let's just get rid of all of these comments that we don't need. We'll go ahead and install Redis. We don't need bcrypt. I don't think we're gonna do, who knows, we might do some images. I don't think we're gonna do anything with active storage right now, so we can probably get rid of that. And then I like to go through and just let's sort those. Okay, let's go ahead and bundle. And we're going to run bin setup as well. And that's going to go ahead and configure our database. And it actually starts up a server. We don't really need the server right now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the server. And we're just going to do an initial commit. And so we have everything committed. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add view component. And if I remember correctly, it's view underscore component. Yep. Actually, we just copy that. Paste that in there. Run bundle install. Go and zoom that in a little bit. Okay. All right, so now we have view component installed, and I think we just create. Oh, we need to install RSpec, right? Almost forgot. RSpec Rails. So we need that, and we need Capybara Rails. Okay, so let's get RSpec Rails first. Okay, so yeah, we want 7x, that's fine. We don't want the main branch. Let's grab that. So development test. Fix those quotes. And that spacing. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, yeah, that's good. Let's go ahead and just install both of them right now, and then yeah, and then we can set our requires and all of that. Do we need Capybara? And I don't know why we would need it in I don't know why we would need it in development, but that's where we have that, so that's fine. Okay, let's bundle again. Okay, and now we need to do Rails G RSpec install, right? Yep. So we'll go ahead and Rails generate RSpec install. That's going to create our spec helper and our Rails helper, and that's what we need to kind of boot up RSpec. And then for Capybara, let's see here. We need to require this. And where do we require this? So if the application you're testing is a Rails app, add this line to your test helper. I always forget whether it's Rails helper. I think it's that, right? I think it's that. Let's see. We shouldn't need to do anything else. So, and if it's the wrong one, it'll throw an exception and blow up, and we'll move it over to the right one. What else? Let's do factory bot. Let's just, because it's gonna try to generate fixtures. We don't want fixtures. We want factories. Let's go back to our gem file, development test. And we'll go ahead and bundle again. Okay. So we're just gonna add we're just gonna make a spec factories directory. Okay. What else? Do we need Do we need the matchers? Should we add? We should probably add, right? Because I believe for testing, this said that it used. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, there we go. So we need to require these in our Rails helper. So let's go ahead and fix all. We're gonna require that. Also gonna fix all of those single quotes, convert them to double quotes. We need to include those in our spec config. So this is it's in. So where's our config? Include view components. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think it said it used some type of matchers. I don't know if we would still use assert selector. Assert component rendered. Maybe these are the helpers that come from there. Okay, the rendered content test helper outputs the rendered HTML. Got it. These are the helpers that come from there. Okay, so I think that's everything we need for our testing. Let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's add a test. So say spec features, user can visit the home page spec.rb. Require Rails helper. And we're gonna expect this to say fluid UI. Okay. So go ahead and clear that out. Let's attach our test runner to our tmux pane here, and we'll go ahead and run our test. So now we're gonna see undersized constant Rails. So this isn't a Rails helper. Why? Is it this? I bet it is. Yeah, undefined method root path. Okay, so where do I put this? It's not in Rails helper. Does it go in spec helper? Is that still uninitialized constant Rails? Is it just auto-loaded? I think it's just auto-loaded, right? I don't know. Okay, so let's run that again. We're gonna get our undefined method root path, right? Because we haven't defined anything. Go ahead and open up a new tab here, and then open up our routes file. And within our routes, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna set a route to I don't know, static. No, let's do pages home. Okay, we'll rerun our test. We're gonna fail again. This time it should fail because we expected to find the text there, but instead we got a routing error, uninitialized constant pages controller. Okay, so we don't have a pages controller. So let's create one. So app controllers pages underscore controller.rb. This is going to inherit from application controller. And we'll just use this. We'll just use this to test our components rendering, right? So we'll go ahead and run that again. And now we're going to get one more error that's basically going to tell us it couldn't find the text and the fact that we're missing a view. So if we add app, views, pages, home.html.erb, and we add our h1 in here with fluid UI, and we go ahead and save that. Now if we come back and we run our test, we should be great. Nice. All right, so we've got an initial smoke test. We've got our testing framework set up. We've got our dependencies installed. So let's go ahead and add everything there. And we'll say install and configure dependencies. All right, now I think we're ready to make our first component. So let's see. I think we're gonna make the button first. I think the button makes sense. And let's go back and look at the documentation for ViewComponents. Now, go back to getting started. I think it's just Rails G component. We give it a name of the component, and then we can pass through the different arguments. Look at the generators here. Okay, we can generate them in namespaces like this, which is what we want to do. We're going to want to prefix all of our components with fluid. And okay, so we could configure the path. The defaults of app views components is fine. Oh, nice. So we can generate the components using Slim versus using ERB. I wonder. Oh, you can generate stimulus controllers for them as well. And you can use TypeScript. Nice. I don't think I would want. I don't know if I would want the stimulus controller. You know what? I think we are going to use Slim. Yeah, I think we're going to use Slim for this. So let's look for that. So Slim Rails. I'll need to convert. Okay, so let's go to our gem file. And let's add Slim Rails. We'll do bundle install. That's going to install. Fetch all the things we need. Oops. All right, nice. Now, we actually do want to convert. I don't think we have that many views. Yes, we have to install this gem, but that's not going to be, not going to be in our application. So we'll just go to our terminal and install that. Yeah. Okay, so we have a compiler error. What are we missing? Might be missing a version of Ruby, so let's just take this to ChatGPT. And okay, so it's saying to use ERB to Slim. So let's try that. So the other one doesn't work. That one doesn't work either because make failed for the same reason, I'm pretty sure. I don't want to downgrade to a different version of interesting. So what version of Ruby? We're running 3.3, right? I don't know. Let's see. So it's just going to be under app views. We'll have our layout. All right. So let's just do this. Just use ChatGPT. Because why not? All right, so let's replace that. And obviously we need to rename this to Slim. Now we'll actually get syntax highlighting in there. Nice. Okay, let's convert our mailer. So we'll just convert each one of them. I think that's fine. We don't have that many. And I do actually use Slim in some other work that I do. And so I would like to kind of build out this proof of concept using Slim to see what this is actually going to look like. Because I think I'm going to have to build out kind of this full library. And so I just want to see, kind of play around with these gems and libraries and see what's possible here. What an implementation would look like. Hopefully you find some value out of it. Yeah, hopefully some people show up. I know it's almost 1 a.m. Eastern here in the United States, but it's Saturday. We're coding. We're having a good time. Yeah, show up, ask some questions. Maybe drop a comment down below with a component you'd like to see us build, and maybe we can build it in one of the next streams, unless you're here and this keeps going, but we'll see. Okay, so we have our mailer. Can we rename this? And then just do this. And okay, pages, home. So we'll rename that to Slim. That's all we need there. JSON.arb. I don't know if that matters. Can we? Interesting. I don't know if that matters for that. Doesn't really do anything. Okay. And then mailers. That should be fine. Let's look at our Tailwind config and change that to Slim. Let's get rid of that. Whoops. Let's convert all the single quotes to double quotes because we're not crazy. What else? I think that's all the views, right? Let's go ahead and open a new window and we'll run bin dev. And we'll come over here, open a new tab. We'll go to localhost 3000. We should see Fluid UI. Cool. There's not really a whole lot there. Let's create us a little structure in our layout, if you will. So we'll go ahead and close down that extra tmux pane. And let's see here. We want to do, oh, I don't know, max width, XL, MX auto, P16, I don't know, 24. Render that in there. Let's do, for this, let's do class equals min height full, BG gray 100. Yep. Let's do that. BG white, rounded, shadow large. Yep. Reading my mind. You know, something to that effect. Maybe not shadow large. Maybe calm down. Okay. Maybe not rounded large. Maybe we get a little space from the top. Okay. And that's a little more what I'm thinking here. Let's do zinc, because I prefer the actual black gray, not the blue gray. And then, yeah. Maybe for this we don't want the padding there. Maybe we just want padding like 8. Give it a little bit, right? And we'll kind of build this out as we build it up. And then if we look at our home, so for here, we could do something like, I don't know, text 3XL font bold, right? I'm not sure what we'll end up making that. Make sure we're at 100%. Okay. Yeah, maybe it is just XL. So it's not like too in your face. We'll do a header, put that inside. Yeah. Again, with the gray to zinc. Okay. So, you know, I think that looks fine. I thought Tailwind had another neutrals and stone. Let's try it. I think we need to do it in our layout as well. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's probably fine. You know what? We're gonna just keep it with the zinc, because what is this? Home. Yeah, we'll leave it with zinc. Cool. All right, so we have our basic kind of smoke screen test. We got our basic app set up. Let's make our canvas a little bit larger there. And yep, so it's gonna look good on mobile. So it'll be full width on mobile. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. Right. We'll keep that simple on mobile. Cool. Cool. Okay, so we've got Slim set up. That should be good. Yep, those all got deleted. We've got Slim for everything. Let's just verify. We don't have any. Okay. Use Slim for HTML markup. Okay, cool. So now we've got Slim installed. Now I think we're ready to make our first component. And let's go back to the docs, just to refresh. So Rails G component, and we're going to do a namespace component. And I think just colon, and then we'll pass through the attributes. So let me check my notes for what attributes we should be using. All right, so like I said, we're gonna start with our button, right? Rails G component fluid button, and we're gonna pass through variant, size, disabled, full width, and I think that's all we need to start with. Okay, so notice that we've got our button component RB, we have our spec, and we have our Slim, right? So that's why we needed to install and configure everything ahead of time, so that when we generate our components, we're going to get them with an RSpec test, and we're going to get them with a Slim view file for that component. Okay, so interesting that it is naming them button underscore component for everything. So interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So button component is so how do we remove the component? Because I would want to remove that. So let's look at the generators and let's look at the configuration. So Slim's our default, so that's fine. Test framework, that's our default, so that's fine. Oh, interesting. So we can inherit from that. So it's application component if defined. So where would we put that? Probably there. Interesting. I don't know that I wanted to have the component name. Like, can I change that? Like I like this application component, right? So otherwise it's view component base. So that way we can have like some top level stuff. So let's go here and say application component. Which is going to inherit from view component base. Yeah, we're not going to have any other functionality in there yet. But like, why do I need... Suffix, that's what I meant, yeah. Interesting. I mean, I'm totally fine. Let's try it. Let's try that. All right. So let's do this. Let's Rails D to destroy all of that. Okay. Let's go to our gem file. Let's add this view component, no component. Because, you know, just install random code from the internet. Okay. Now, let's run our generator again. And this time, it did the same thing. It did the same thing. That didn't do anything. Remove it again. Yeah, that didn't work. All right, let's try the other gem. Because that didn't work. I'm saying view component contrib. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Nice. So we can actually define style variants a bit differently if we use this library. All right. So what is the main benefits here? Interesting. That could be good. So they're all like kind of self-contained. I am a fan of evil Martians, so that could be good. I don't think it fixes the component prefix issue. Which, like, that is kind of annoying just because it makes the UI, the API not very clean. All right, so I guess we'll go with it for now. Let's remove that gem that didn't actually do anything. Bundle. Okay, so here's our component. Let's see, what do we want to do? Class fluid button component, which inherits from application component. Nice. Okay, that's what we wanted. We're going to create our variants here. We're going to say equals %W. We'll do primary, secondary, outline, comma, outline, danger, fill, filled, ghost. Yeah. And yeah, we'll freeze it. Okay. Let's do the same thing for sizes. And we'll use Tailwind classes for this. So small, MD for medium, LG for large. Shouldn't really need sizes other than that. And then let's pass some defaults in here. So primary. I'm actually going to make secondary. I think secondary is probably going to be the more common button instead of primary being the size or the default variant. We're going to use medium. We're going to set disable to false and full width to false. And then we're going to set all of those. We're also going to accept system args here, and we'll just pass those through there. And we're going to want to call a private method here to validate our options. So let's go ahead and add a private method, validate options, bang. Yeah. And essentially it's going to do just that, right? It's going to throw or raise an argument error if we have supplied an invalid variant or an invalid size. So this is one of the nice things about using view components, is you can have this type of logic around your UI component and the usage of it. And so if you don't implement it or instantiate it correctly, you're going to get an exception during development. And so you'll be able to catch that, hopefully, before it makes it out the door. Okay, so, excuse me. All right, what else? All right, we're also going to want to define, I'm not sure where we're going to use this yet, but after our validate options, we're going to want to figure out what our CSS classes are going to look like here. And I think we're going to have a lot of classes here. So we're going to want to do like inline flex, item center, justify center, rounded, let's see, checking my notes here. Rounded, and again, we can change all of this. Font, medium, transition, all, oops, comma, and then here, so we're gonna have like our different styles. And we're going to just break them up a little bit, right? So here's our focus style. So we'll have focus, focus, visible, outline, none, focus, visible, ring to, ring, visible ring to. We're not going to set a color to it because we don't have like this primary color set. We're going to set an offset there. And now we're going to have some other classes. And these are going to be separate methods. We'll define them below. And we'll just do this to keep it nice and clean. Disabled classes with the classes. And then if we pass in an argument of class, we'll also merge that in, and we'll compact and we'll join those together. Okay, so let's go ahead and just make sure that looks good. All right, so let's start with our variant classes, right? This is how we're going to style the different types of buttons. So for our variant, we'll go ahead and accept that for now, and we'll just let Copilot kind of do its thing. We'll update this as we need to. But I think it's fine for now. We can always modify it. All right, let's add another method here for our size classes. Yep. Oops. And case size. Go ahead and set that up. That's totally fine for now. Again, we're going to override these as we need to actually style. Right now, we really just want to test and see, like, how do all these pieces fit together? There we go. Whoops. With classes. Yeah, exactly. Sweet. I mean, that seems like a pretty good button class, right? Now, let's see what our view looks like. Let's go to our button component. So there's our button component. And for our button template, we're gonna need to pull in Alpine. So let's go ahead and do that real quick first. Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna grab the CDN script here because I think that's fine for our use case. Layout, application. Down here, after we include our own JavaScript, we'll say vendor scripts, and we'll just include that. We'll fix this so that we're using slim syntax for that. There we go. Great. Now with that, we should have Alpine. Okay, so to render our button, oops, we don't want that. We want a button, and I'm just gonna bring this down. Oh wait, we're in slim. So slim will make this a little bit challenging. And then I think we have to escape all of our attributes here. But we can, pretty sure. We can say, yeah, because we're not an ERB, right? Is this gonna work? Let's do it on one line and then we'll break it down. How do we do this? Disabled. And so we're going to have access to any of those instance variables here within our component as well, which is nice. All right, so now we're going to use some of our Alpine.js, right? So we're going to set some data here for some state. We'll see. I don't think we're going to use this right now. We're going to bind a class to scale it a little bit, just to kind of show you how this works. But this is a contrived example for sure. We're probably not going to end up using something like this. But anyways, so all the Alpine.js directives or attributes are prefixed with X. So we're going to do X dot data, and yeah, then we're going to open up a JavaScript object in here, and we're going to say pressed is false by default. And we're going to bind a class. So we do x.bind :class equals, again, JavaScript object syntax, right? We come in here, we're going to say scale, scale 95, and that's a class we're going to add, right? If we're pressed. If I can actually spell it. Okay. And so I really would love to be able to break these up. On separate lines. All right. Put that there. Yep, that looks good. We'll have to see. I forget how to, I think we might have to escape every one of these lines, but we'll see. Okay, so we're gonna add a few more properties here, a few more attributes. So we're gonna do x dot on mouse down. And yep, we're gonna set press to true, mouse up, we're gonna set it to false, and mouse leave, we're gonna set it to false. And then we don't have any click event right now for this, which is fine. Last but certainly not least, we are going to merge, essentially just merge any values. Let me just grab this from my notes instead of typing this all out. From those system arguments that are passed through. Any of those arguments, we're going to go ahead and parse those and pass them through, except for class. Let's go ahead and remove that. Okay, so there's our button, and then inside of our button, we're just going to render content like that. So I think that's all we need to use this. Let's go ahead and see if we can't render one on the page. All right, so let's go here. MT8. Let's see, we're not gonna say getting started. Let's say buttons. And let's do this. Okay, so how do we render these now? All right, so if I want to render one of these, it is, yeah, so we have to pass through kind of a block. Okay, so if we want to render one, I think this is how we do it. So we're going to say equals render fluid button component dot new. We're going to pass through a variant. Let's see, do these all need to be strings? I think so. We're just going to say primary. We're going to have a size of medium and full width true. And we're going to pass through a block, and then our text is going to go on the inside. All right, so let's go ahead and come back here, reload. We're going to blow up, which is totally fine. Let's try to restart our Rails server, because we've done a ton of things here and installed libraries and everything else, and that could be what's causing it. Let's come back and reload. Okay. Undefined method compile for instance of string. So I would assume so just new and do. That should be working. Variant primary size full width true, which is essentially what we do. Let's just, this shouldn't matter. Let's just pass through the variant, right? Let's assume we want the default size. Okay, so we're still not rendering. Fluid button component. Yeah, that's what I did. Fluid button component. Okay, so what is the error that we're getting? Okay, it says we need to configure preview paths. I don't know why we would need to do that, but okay. restart our server there. And yeah, it's saying to render our component just like we did. Interesting. So it's not, I don't know if something didn't get installed correctly, but it's not rendering the component at all. I wonder if we still need to override this, even though it's our default and it generated it. Oh no, it says it'll default. Okay. So what the heck? I mean, it could be. It could be the component. Which is annoying. But I think that's required. Okay, so what if we just... What if we get rid of this? Still doesn't render. Oh wait, for mobile. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Hold on one second. I'm not really sure. As far as I know, it should just be working. Let's generate another component. Let's say Rails G component fluid card title let's just make it like that. Let's see. Ooh, so that breaks. Interest. Why? Okay, so let's just create a component named card. Okay, and that works. So let's close that. Let's go here. You know, let's just say that that works like that, right? We're going to come here. We're going to say equals render. Dot new do and that works. Interesting. Okay. So it's something with our namespace. So how do we namespace? I thought we namespace. Ah, colon, colon, double colon, double colon, double colon. Rails D component card. Rails G fluid card. Rails G component fluid card. Okay. So this is going to be under fluid. We're going to have our card component. Okay. Now we're going to come to our home page. We're going to say render fluid card component. Come back here. Reload. It works. Okay. So why does our button not work? What's wrong with our button? Fluid button component, application component, card component, fluid card component. So what gives? So we come back down here and we just say equals render fluid and we blow up. Okay. So there's something here, or I bet there's something here. Like, what if we get rid of these classes? Nothing. Does it have to be at? Is it the content? No. Interesting. So where is it? That is so interesting, because that seems fine. I mean, there's something in here. So I'm just going to take the same thing. We're going to go to this drop down component. We're going to paste this and we're going to name this drop down. Okay. And then we're going to copy our button into this drop down. And then we're going to go to our home page, and I want to render our drop down. And then which means there's something in here that's happening. Okay, now we're going to render for different reasons here. And we're going to come to our drop down component. We're going to get rid of disabled. I mean, if we get rid of all of these, a button renders. Okay. So now this is going to blow up because we don't have disabled, right? Is it just that? Is it... Okay, so it's somewhere in the classes. Oh. That's definitely what it was. Put those back there. All right, so let's do this. let's just delete that. Okay. So let's go to our button component and we're going to look and see what we're applying here. So we have class. Should be classes. So we're going to validate our options. That's fine. And then inside our button component, we're rendering classes, which wouldn't have existed previously. Now we don't have that, so let's go back here. Let's replace this with just button. And we'll come back and reload. Okay, so now we get another syntax error. Expected attribute. Okay, so this is just a slim issue now. That is fine. I assumed we would have an issue with all of the concatenation. Okay, expected attribute. So how do we do? Doesn't like that either. How do I format this? How do I format this? In Slim, let's see. I can't ever remember the syntax for multi-line attributes, whether you don't need it. Okay, this is saying you don't need it at all. And to just do this. And then to just do that. Yeah, I think it's the disabled, like how we're doing it, but we only want to generate it. Okay, so I guess we don't need the interpolation for that. That's the problem. It's like it doesn't know what to do with this. So we're gonna say disabled. We're gonna say disabled equals otherwise it's nil. I think we're gonna have an issue on the attributes. Yeah. Same. So how do we pass those through? Got it. So are we just gonna expand them? Hey, now we have a button. Now our default variant is secondary, which is why it looks like that. Let's go ahead and where we render it on our home page, we'll go and pass through a constructor here, and we'll say variant is primary. Let's go back and reload. Syntax error, huh? What happened with our script tag? I'll just leave it as a regular script. That's fine with me. Okay, so now we're not getting any errors. And if we look at our button element, we have all of our classes, all of our state on there. We're not actually getting any styling, and that is because if we go to our Tailwind config, you'll notice that we don't have components, which we'll need. There's our button. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back home. Let's not render this card component for right now. And we'll render our primary button. And we're going to go ahead and stop and restart our server so we make sure we pick up that new build path. Okay, so now we're going to switch back. We'll reload. We're going to see primary button there. Still does not appear that we are getting any styles. It is rendering our button. So I wonder why Tailwind is not picking anything up. Right, those do live. App, components, and then anything in there. That should have covered everything, though. I don't see why we would need to do that again, but let's give it one more shot. Yeah, see, this mostly seems like a configuration issue. Because if I were to, let's just go on the page here. Create another div. Yeah, let's just take that. Nope, I don't want that. I just sure. We're gonna get a button and we're gonna get all the colors. So how do we get this to work with view components? Oh, we're starting to get our hover. So we're getting our hover there. Right, but if we look at our button component, we have our classes. We go into the component itself. Our variant class, our background is blue. Okay, it's right there. Ah, because they're not in the actual markup. Got it. So let's get rid of that. I mean, we're gonna want those as well. but we're going to want to search there. We're going to need to search in the actual Ruby files to find the definitions. Let's reload. Boom. There we go. Right, because the classes are defined in the Ruby component files. They're not necessarily defined in the view. The idea is that we're going to have them here. We could have some in the view, right? We're probably going to have both. All right, let's just add a couple more variants just to show what this looks like. So we'll come back to our home view. So we'll say secondary. Outline. What else do we have? We should create a link button, but we don't have one yet. We'll say danger. And we'll say this one ghost. And we'll say this one is filled. And then last but not least, we'll do a link button, which we don't have as a variant. And so we're going to get an exception that we don't have link. That's what we want. If you try to use this and you go outside the system of the component, outside the API, we want to throw an exception. Okay. Well, let's just add another variant here. So we have our filled variant. So we're going to add a link. And then we're going to need to add some variant classes for link, right? So we're going to say when link. Keep it simple. Now we'll reload. And you'll see that we have all of our different variants of buttons just right there. And our link button. And we'll get our scale when we click on it. That's coming from Alpine. That is really cool. I think, and again, we're going to need to build a more complete example, but I think this is going to be the way to kind of build that up. Now, I would love to see, and it's probably too late to do this now. You know what? Let's replace this background here with our card component. So let's go to our home page. Actually, this is in our application layout. Okay, so we have this, which is a card. And we're going to leave all of that sizing. And we're going to take that off. Okay. So we're going to end up with something that's like in the middle of the page like that. That's kind of what we want. And now let's go back to our card component. And for this, we're going to add a div. And we're going to paste our classes in. And we're going to output our content here. Okay. Now we're going to switch back to our home page. We have our header here. We're going to say render fluid card do. And component.new. And we're going to move all this stuff inside of it. Now if we come back, we're going to reload. You're going to see that now we have our card component and we have our buttons inside of it. And for our buttons here, let's see. Flex, gap to, let's check that out. Okay, so that's gonna make them all large. let's wrap. And that way they'll kind of maintain their size based on the content that's within them, but then they're still going to wrap around. And this is going to be our filled button. Here's our primary button. But now you can see how we've kind of have that wrapped, right? And we could take this even further, right? We could say Rails G. Well, let's see how we want to do this. How about this? Let's do this. Let's go ahead. We don't need this. That's all extra. Let's take our header. And let's jump back over here. We're going to say like if at header and then we're gonna kind of paste this in here, right? So like if we have a header, then we're gonna paste in the header, and then inside the header we're gonna say if the subheader's preference, if the subheader is present, then we're going to render that. And see, this is just going to be header. This is just going to be subheader, right? And now we're going to come back to our card component and we're going to update this. And this is going to be title. Subtitle. And we're just going to set those. And what am I doing? Title, subtitle. Yeah. Okay, title and subtitle. I think that's all we need for that. We don't really need to do anything here. We could, but I don't think we need to. And so now we have our card component that will take that and output it. Okay, so now if we go back, we'll just leave that there. We'll jump back over here to our home view. And now for our card component, whenever we do new, well, now if we pass through a title of Fluid UI and a subtitle of UI library for Rails, and now we come back here and reload. We're not getting our title, so let's see. So we're passing it there to the card component. Let's go back here. Yep, let's just initialize. Now we should see it, right? I would expect that to render. Right, because the idea is that we're gonna have this like really nice composability with render calls that are just gonna render the different components. But why new? You should be able to just pass through the values. I think that's correct. And Oh, because it's not header, it's title. And subtitle, not subheader. So if I use the right things, then it actually renders. Okay, cool. So we can just pass through the constructor there. And so a card can now have a title and a subtitle, and we don't need to worry about that in our view. We can just pass it through here in the actual constructor, right? And if you need to do something fancy with it, you could override it, or you could do it HTML safe here if you wanted to render HTML inline. But for the most part, that's pretty cool. Let's see, how much time do we have left? We got a few minutes. Let's see. Yeah, I think, let's see if we can get AI to help us generate a modal component, and we'll add, we'll kind of add a modal component here. I think we could do so much with this too. Like you could imagine bringing these into kind of even our text elements, rendering those as components. And so we can verify that those are all kind of consistent. I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah, we're going to generate a ton of code for this, and we're going to see how this works. Looks pretty good so far. All right. We're just gonna generate this kind of quickly because I just want to see if it works. So let's do something here. So we want that to be kind of our main title here, and then inside of here, well, not inside of here, but say I want a div here, h2, something about buttons, right? Remove that, bring that up there. MT8, fine. We are inside of the card, which is why we've got a little nesting going on here. That's okay. I just want to kind of separate that out, and then we'll add another section down here, and this will be for modals. And we'll add another section there. And then yeah, I mean, we could add all kinds of other properties here. Okay, so let's do that. So we have like a section for our modals down here. And now let's go ahead and generate that new modal component. So we're gonna do Rails G component fluid ; modal, and we're gonna give it a we're definitely gonna have a title. We're gonna have an optional description, which we'll probably change subtitle to description for the for the card. But again, this is just to explore the library, right? We're not building production code here. We're just trying to figure this out. Okay. right, so because like the title, the description, a lot of the layout of the modal is going to be it's going to be dependent on the modal that you're trying to build, right? We don't want to enforce too many constraints there. We do want to encapsulate. We do want to encapsulate kind of creating the modal, the overall style of it, and the accessibility around the modal, opening and closing it, screen readers, all of those things. So let's go ahead and we're going to generate a modal component. Why not? Could not generate field size with unknown type hash. Oh yeah, I don't know what that is. Close button. Boolean. Let's do that. Okay. So let's check out our modal. So we're going to go up to our components, fluid. We're going to go to our modal component class first. And again, we're just going to copy what ChatGPT, what Claude is giving us. And we're going to remove this. We're going to do that. Get rid of that. Whoops. Realign that. Okay, perfect. Now let's go to our modal component view. And let's grab our modal template here. And most of this is actually going to be Alpine.js. Okay. So we're going to set our initial data here is open to false. We're going to have a close function here that'll toggle that. And we're going to have an open function here. We're going to set is open, kind of set up some state here, have on key down to escape and close. We'll have a close button if we've passed that in. We'll just use an SVG here for the close button. That's fine. If there's a title, we're going to show the title. If there's a description, we'll show the description. We'll render out the modal's content. And then in the footer, we're going to render the footer. And we can also click outside to close the modal. So let's see what it looks like to actually use this. Okay. And we'll see if this works. This is 100% AI created content. So down here in our modal div, we'll create another div with an MT8. And then inside of that, we're going to actually render. We're going to render our modal. Okay. Let's go ahead and reload. Of course, we're going to get an issue. Malformed indentation. I don't think it was just the comment. I think this is all off. MT8 malformed indentation. Oh. Okay. There we go. Undefined local variable or method modal. I got it. Okay, so all of this Should be nested underneath the modal. I don't think the button should be. That should be output in the card. Okay, so now getting some JavaScript errors, but that's okay. Cannot read properties undefined of open. Interesting. Okay, so with this one, I think the button has to be on the inside. One more. Nope, now it's in the modal. We don't want that. Okay, refs confirm modal. So we do need to give it a ref. Right? Because I don't see a ref on it unless it's in. If it's in the modal component. I do not see a ref on it. Okay, so let's reload. Click open modal. And let's just give it what our home view is. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so where do we add xref? Yeah, so we're gonna want to pass in that ref. I'm pretty sure, right? So if we go here to our modal component, paste that in. Right now we're setting the ref here. This really does need to be the modal ref. Because you could have more than one. And I'm pretty sure this needs to be unique. Let's just name it modal for now. And now if we reload and click it, let's see, I'm not seeing. Yeah, there's our open. The modal element isn't properly referenced. We need to add an xref to the modal to ensure that it's in the same Alpine.js scope. All right, give me this. None of that properly formatted. None of that's properly formatted. All right, we still can't get the ref. So why is that? Okay, so xref is confirm modal. So why is it? Okay, so we must be just calling open somewhere. Open, close, open, close, open, close. And then for our button here, it's open. Right? Confirm modal dot open. Okay, let's give it both. There's probably a nesting thing. There's probably something with the nesting here. Okay. Let's see if this simpler modal implementation actually works. And it doesn't. Alright, so let's see if our AI overlords get this right this time. Okay, so let's switch back. Whoops. Switch back here. We'll go to our modal component. Replace everything in there. Okay, then we'll come to our view. Modal template. Replace that again. And then does our usage need to update? I don't know if we need to update this or not. Let's see. I feel like that's exactly what we just did. There we go. That's not the modal we wanted at all. It doesn't look anything like we wanted it to. But we have a modal showing up. We have keyboard, focus. It's really easy. We're gonna have to do a lot to kind of clean this up and keep it really simple. We are trying to use an HTML dialog, so that's good. Where are we getting all this background? It feels like we're getting a double footer. We're going to render the footer there. And our button to open the modal can still exist outside the modal. But why it renders it twice? And I think I would like to use Alpine more for that, but yeah, like why are we getting the double? I don't understand why we're getting the double footer. Yeah, it's rendering the footer twice, which is weird. Let's show that. Let's also show our modal component to the AI. And make sure we're not doing anything weird in here. We shouldn't be. Okay. Oh, should I not be doing equals content? What? This is just in the view? In what view? In this view? I don't know where I'm doing. That doesn't fix anything. What are you talking about? Still double rendering. Now it only renders once. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're saying this is the new component. this is here's class. Here is the slim. And then where we render it, let's add some spacing there. Okay, so we can't name it content. So name it body. There we go. Now we got our confirmation there, and we have our modal body. I don't understand why. Oh, because we're in dark mode. I don't want any of that right now. So let's just remove the dark. Let's I mean, the dark is fine, but it needs to be zinc. But for this one, just want to keep it simple. And then, yeah, again, we can tweak this in a number of ways. The point was we could create something to be able to have modal, an accordion, a drop down, whatever that thing is. And I think Alpine.js is the key to that because it's very simple. We get all of our variations, and when we want to render these things out, ultimately it's just a bunch of blocks. You still end up adding some markup where you need it, but the API is pretty clean, and now we have this whole thing under a tested kind of component that we can go in and add accessibility and other things too. So I think this is the way we're gonna go. We're going to leave it at this for now. I'm sure we'll follow up with this as we build out some more components. And we'll see where this library goes. But for now, that's it. Hope you got some value out of the stream. Please make sure to like and subscribe so I can keep making more content. leave a comment down below. Let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. Maybe there's a component you'd like to see me build. Yeah. And tomorrow we'll get back to building our online, our video on demand SaaS platform. And I think I'm going to use ViewComponents with it because this is pretty cool. I like the idea of having this encapsulation, the testability, the reusability, and the ability to encapsulate all of that accessibility and style and different logic and the events and things like that within the component when you're not using a JavaScript framework like React or Vue or Svelte. And so I think this is going to be the approach for building out my component library for Rails. And I wish there was a nicer syntax than this like render component. It's very Ruby, which I think is fine, but also it would be nice if we had an HTML like syntax, right? Like if I could come down here and I could just say fluid, I don't know, panel, for example. Right, and inside here, I could say, like maybe we had a form and then we could do fluid field. Right. Whoops. And then, you know, maybe there are other attributes that you add. Maybe there's a label. Maybe there's, you know, something else. I'm not sure what the full live API would look like. This would be a lot nicer if we could infer some kind of syntax like this versus, so like if we made this like card, and then we made maybe button, and then we had a variant here of primary, right, this wouldn't be close, that's our opening tag, and in here can have something like that. So that would be ideal. We can definitely achieve that with React. I'm not sure if it's possible to do that. Let's see. Oh. Okay. All right, well, we're not going to implement it in this stream. It is possible. It's actually not that hard. Actually, you know what? Let's try this. You know, we're gonna try it real quick, because it would be awesome if we could get some syntax similar to this. And from what I'm seeing, it seems pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and add. I don't know what 2 is. let's add everything. For our components. And now we're going to add, let's see, config initializers slim .rb. Okay, so we're going to create an initializer here for slim. That's what the AI is telling me. And let's go and replace those single quotes with double quotes. And we're going to add a custom tag, right? This custom tag is going to be fluid, which is what we want. Now we're going to override the slim parser to add a handler for that tag. And we'll replace all of those. Okay, and basically what this is going to do, right? It's going to look for the fluid tag, and then it's going to basically append on the component class. Is going to take any attributes that we pass through, and it's going to pass those through as options to the component initializer, and we're going to render the class. We're going to constatize, we're going to call new and pass through the options, and then we're going to pass through a block and render the content there for that component. That's pretty sweet. Through Slim and its parser, it's interesting that we need to do fluid do first. It's a little weird. But you know what? We're just going to try this. We're going to try this and see what it does. If this actually works, like, this is going to be pretty awesome. Okay, so we're just going to replace everything here. Not with that. Not with that. We're going to replace everything here with this markup. Now, this markup is not slim. And so we actually want it in slim. I don't know why the AI generated it with that. We want it in slim. And you'll notice that we're going to have a fluid card. We're going to have a fluid button. We're going to have a fluid modal. And that's going to be syntax that we have. So now if we reload this, let's see if this actually works. Undefined method. Okay. So we added an initializer, so we need to reboot our server. So let's stop it and restart. Let's go ahead and come back. Let's refresh. Close. Undefined method fluid on instance of class. Let's see. Did we miss something in the... Yes. So first... it's saying we need this builder class, fluid builder. That's what we're missing. Got it. Okay, so let's go here. So app lib fluid builder.rb. Go ahead and paste that in there. And this is going to kind of build up our component. Yep, and get our render call. So that's probably in the initializer. So let's stop our server and restart. Okay, method missing. Let's see what else. Oh, we need a fluid helper. App helpers fluid helper.rb. Because we need our fluid method, which is going to take our builder for the block. Okay, we're getting closer. All right, undefined method safe concat for nil. Okay. Okay, we have our slim parser. Try that. got our helper. Okay, so we need like the component builder. Applib fluid components. Okay, this is going to be a component builder, so it passes through the view context. Yep. Okay. Yep, that's fine. Then in our fluid helper, we are going to, sorry, copy that. What is this? Layout, trailing, empty lines, final new line missing. Okay, so we have our builder. What is this whole UI.button crap? I don't want that. What is that? Okay, so now we're getting everything rendered. But it's just being output as text. Okay, so we have like this builder example. Let's just try this. And then obviously we're gonna need to rename this because that's not at all what we want if it works. So we are getting our card now. Okay. Interesting. Oh, we need to include the helper in our application helper. And our application controller. We include our fluid helper. It looks like it's close. And again, this is the problem with AI, is that it wants to change everything constantly. So let's go with the initializer, slim. Let's just rename all of that. Let me guess, we're not even using it. Assigned but unused. Cool. Let's go ahead and stop and restart our server. I'm not sure if this part's going to go anywhere, but you know what? It looked pretty promising. So, okay, wrong number of arguments given. That's fine. We need to actually update our markup here. Let's go back to our home. Replace that again. So we want our HTML-like syntax, right? That's ultimately what we're going for. Let's restart. Rebuild, parse error. I love how it's like, let me fix it. Here's the issue that I just caused. Promise this one will work. All right, so back to the Slim initializer. Let's paste that in, fix all those issues again. We're gonna grab this copy here, which is going to be in our home. We're gonna paste that. We're gonna restart our server again because again we updated the initializer. Let's go back here. We're gonna reload. And wrong number of arguments given. Make sure you restart real server after adding some. Let me know if you need any adjustments. Yeah, I do. I need you to adjust it so it works. Okay, we're gonna try another. We're gonna stop our server. This is the last one, and then we're gonna give up and stash, and we'll try this again another time. And then let's start our server. Be really cool if we could get this Slim syntax to actually work. Oh, we're not even gonna build now. Initialize constant Slim tags. The simplified one. Let's go and start our server, maybe, possibly. Yeah, there we go, without a crash. Reload. Nope, we got a crash. Nope, we're still rebuilding. I don't know why we can't load. I think it'd be really nice if we can get the Slim rendering to actually render our, yeah, now it's being like super prescriptive. Yeah, we don't want any of that. Let's go ahead and let's just stash that. Let's run bin dev. Let's come back here. We're going to reload. We're going to get all of our components there. That's great. Obviously, there's a bunch of styling stuff that we can do to all of these components, but that's what it looks like for now. And yeah, we have this syntax here it's less than ideal. I think we can override the Slim engine and add our own custom tag, in which case we can use HTML syntax for this. That's going to be so much nicer than having to use kind of Ruby block syntax for all of this stuff. Yeah, maybe we'll try that tomorrow. We'll see how that goes, but it's getting late, and I'm all done for now. Hopefully you got some value out of the stream. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you'd like to see next. And until then, I'll see you next time.